Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello, my name is Syahmie Idham bin Mohd Sharulnizam. So today my teammates and I will be presenting our group project, which is industrial based. So for this project we need to find one company that we are going to study their occupational safety and health facilities, and also the safety precautions and hazards that exist in that particular company. So we had chosen Celestica Electronics Sdn Bhd as the company that we are going to study. Okay, so these are our group members. The first one is Nur Muhammad Farhan, second one is Rian Shahabi, third one is Syahmie Idham, me myself. The fourth one is Haziq Amani, and the last one is Alia Munira binti Muhammad. So I will begin the presentation with the introduction part. Okay, the first one is company background. Celestica is an international company that is based in Toronto, Canada, and it has many branches all over the world, including in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, they got 3 branches. The first one is in Kulim, Kedah. Second one is in Johor Bahru, Johor, and the third one is in Penang. So a little bit about the company background. Celestica is a global pioneer in providing innovative electronics manufacturing services. Okay. Over 40 production and design facilities across the world. Like I mentioned just now, Celestica is an international and global company, so it has over 40 production across the world. Next, provides design, prototyping, assembly, testing, product assurance, supply chain management, global distribution, and after-sales service. So instead of manufacturing electronic parts, Celestica also provides this kind of services. Okay, next, Celestica was founded in 1970 and based in Canada. And last one is Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd has been in operation since 1999. So Celestica has been operating in Malaysia for about 22 years till now. Moving on to the next part, which is nature of business. So what kind of business did Celestica actually runs? Okay, so as a electronic company, Celestica manufactures electronic parts, but mainly they manufacture printed circuit board, which is or we call as PCB, for aerospace industry. So this printed circuit board or PCB are being used by the aviation companies such as Honeywell, Thales, Boeing, and Airbus. Okay, and also some military manufacturer also uses the PCB that being manufactured by Celestica as well. Alright. Okay, so next is provides engineering services. So instead of manufacturing electronic parts, they also provide engineering services and also engineering consultation.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Muhammad Farhan bin Muhammad Johan, and today I'm going to talk about the facilities for occupational safety and health. So on my first slide, I'm going to talk about the implementation of relevant act or regulation in a company. So in our case study, we have found out that the company follow the Factories and Machinery Noise Exposure Regulation 1989 until the date of 1st of June of 2019, which they follow up with the newest update from the OSHA, which is Occupational Safety and Health Noise Exposure Regulation 2019. So there's only a little bit different in both regulation, which is in the regulation 1989, no employee should be exposed to the sound level that exceeds 90 decibel daily. Meanwhile, in the noise exposure regulation 2019, no employee exposed to the sound level exceeding 85 decibel daily. This is the only difference between the noise regulation of 1989 and noise regulation of 2019. Next, I'm going to talk about the emergency stop button. We noticed that during our site visit, almost every machine have this particular emergency stop button. Why? It is in case of emergency, a safety device is utilized to turn off machinery. This is because it can cause harm to the worker if it cannot be turned off using any normal manner. So, we noticed that they have three type of emergency stop button. The first one have a push button with a power switch with it, and the second one they have a rope which you can pull or push to cut off the power for the machine, and the third one is the most common one which only have the push button. After that, we have the fire prevention and protection system in a company. In Celestica Sendirian Berhad, we notice they are using two types of fire protection system. The first one is the active fire protection, which requires some sort of activity to function, and the second one is passive fire prevention, which is frequently embedded into the structure of the building. Besides that, both systems are under the regulation of Fire Service Act 1988, which comprise of fire service law in Malaysia. After that, they also have the fire training drill in the company. This is to ensure the functioning of the fire protection system and also train the occupant of the building to be prepared to face in a real life situation. As you can see in the slide, these are the example of active fire protection system in Celestica Sendirian Berhad. Now we're going to talk about personal protective equipment. First, PPE is a personal protective equipment that is worn to reduce exposure to a range of risks. Second, employers are required to provide and pay for employees' PPE once they are working with a company. Also, in 15 May 2008, a new rule has been created by OSHA, which is now mandatory for employer to provide PPE to the employee. Third, personal protective equipment must be designed and constructed in a safe manner, as well as maintained in a clean and reliable manner. On my last slide, I'm going to talk about the maintenance program, communication tool, and safety checklist. So, the first one, to maintain the operation of its facility, the company Celestica has developed a maintenance program. What type of maintenance program that I come up with? They have come up with the corrective and preventive maintenance program for their company. So, beside that, they also have daily routine inspection on some asset. They also have a weekly and monthly maintenance program for all of the asset in the company. Fourth, the company has using two medium to communicate between the workers, which is the first one, handphone, and the second one is a personal laptop. So, and lastly, the worker also follow a safety operation manual of safety checklist to ensure that the machine lasts as long as possible as they can.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Syahmie. I will be presenting part B, which is type of hazard and way to overcome it. Hazard has become the main concern in every company. It is important for a company like Celestica to implement hierarchy of control and hierarchy form. The purpose of it is to minimize or remove any possible hazard that can be found in a workplace. Hierarchy form is used to ensure organization of risk is recognized, analyzed, and managed on continuous basis. The first hazard that can be found in Celestica is mechanical hazard. It is arise from the operation or driven remotely controlled hardware and heavy machinery. Even FMS is the mainly machine that is used in Celestica. There is other machine that is still considered dangerous. From the hierarchy form, CNC machine is widely used in Celestica, and hazard such as sharp blade and entanglement of the component can be found. It could lead to serious injury or even death. That is why a proper PPE should be wear and emergency button must be functioning well in the workplace. Secondly, electrical hazard. Burns, electric shocks, and blasts is known as an electrical hazard. As Celestica is a company that manufactures electronic components such as PCB and semiconductor, Work activities such as wiring installation can cause electrostatic discharge. It is recommended to use dissipative elastomer to enable the discharge of unnecessary electrical charges, and the use of PPE in the workplace should be used. The next hazard is chemical hazard. It is a substance which can cause health issues when inhaled excessively or ingested. The manufacturing of PCB required the use of chemical substances in process such as etching process and soldering process. It is important for an employee to keep the material in a secured place if not being used, and the use of proper PPE clothing need to be used when handling the chemicals. The fourth hazard is ergonomic hazard. It is a physical conditions that may pose risk of injury to the musculoskeletal system. Work activities such as transferring heavy objects from place to place and picking up stuff from high place could lead to back injury. This is why the company should provide mechanical lifting equipment and adjust the position of work area so that the worker can feel more comfortable. The final hazard that can be found is psychosocial hazard. It is a hazard that could affect a human's psychological health, mental or emotional well-being. Working in a semiconductor processing facility could cause psychosocial hazard as the use of full PPE is required and it is very hot in the workplace. That is why the company should make a job rotation and make sure the SC system is in good condition.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syahmie binti Mohd and I would like to continue the presentation regarding part C, which are procedures and activities need to be carried out in the event of the emergency, injury, accident and incident. Number 1. Serious injury accident. A serious injury is where any work-related fatality, serious injury or illness that must be informed to the supervisor or any nearest employees. Example of the serious injury accident can be muscle strains, broken bones or fracture, as well as burns. Therefore, the emergency procedures are stated as follows. Number 1, press the emergency push button to ensure all electrical and mechanical equipment should be turned off. Examine and provide an urgent first aid to the victim. Contact the professional first responders and dispatch an ambulance as soon as possible. An accident must be reported as quickly and efficiently as possible to the emergency services. The information must be confirmed by the supervisor. Stay with the victim and provide first aid as needed until help arrives. And lastly, complete out the injury form to report the incident. Number 2, fire incidents. During fire incidents, an emergency evacuation is the instantaneous escape of persons away from a place containing an existential danger, threat, or any harm that could affect the lives or property. Therefore, Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd has developed a plan for the company emergencies and evacuations in order to ensure all employees will be safe in any situation such as in fire accident. Below are the examples of the procedures that Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd implemented in the company in case of an emergency. Number 1. Activate the fire alarm system to notify both building occupants and rescue responders. Immediately call 911 and give them the detail about the incident. Leave the building by referring to the emergency route as a guide and gather all employees at an assembly area marked on the evacuation maps. Assist anyone who is in danger as well as disabled employees. Observe that all workers have left the building and count the number of persons to verify that no one trapped within the building. For the injured employees, aid them or directly report a medical emergency to emergency responders. Obey the direction of the appropriate emergency services responders or company emergency control professional. Lastly, report the incident. Number 3. Slip, trip and fall accident. Slip, trip and fall accident account for majority accidents in Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd that result in employee injuries. employees slipping, tripping, or falling from work areas such as floors, platforms, stairs, and ramps, which can cause work-related accidents and even fatalities. Irregular or uneven surfaces, hazards on the floor, and slippery are the common causes of this incident. If the incident happened, Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd applied the emergency procedures stated below. Number 1. Make a call for help and seek medical assistance. Examine the health condition of employee and inform the respective supervisor. Approach them carefully as well as to ensure there is no risk to the victim. If necessary, immediately call for an ambulance for further treatment. And lastly, report the accident by filling in an employee accident reporting form. Number 4 is chemical spillage accidents. A chemical spillage is a possible risk to the employees and company if chemical is being stored at the workplace. Celestica Malaysia Sdn Bhd is also dealing with chemical substances to produce range of products such as semiconductor, which they should practice the best step to avoid chemical spillage. Below are the emergency procedures that can be followed if the accident happened. Number 1. Isolate the person from the situation if it is possible to do so. Notify the employees in the surrounding to immediately leave. Inform the nearby supervisor. Call 911 straight away and ask for immediate and medical assistance. To wash chemicals off an affected person, use eye wash or safety showers. Clean the spill on surfaces using the appropriate cleaning material. Gather the materials that were utilized to manage or eliminate the spill and dispose of them as directed. Obey the professional instruction for further action. And lastly, report the incident by filling the accident injury form. Lastly, minor injury accident. The accident and injuries should be reported immediately despite how small the harm appears to be. Cuts, allergic reactions, bruises, and burns are the example of the minor injury accidents which could possibly happen. Always inform the employer or supervisor before injury could evolve into more serious issues. Below are the emergency procedures that need to be followed by the employees if the situation happened. Number 1. Transport the affected person to a health facility in non-emergency situation. Wipe down the wound and stop any bleeding if any. Once the bleeding has stopped, cover any cuts to prevent infection. And lastly, fill in the employee's report of injury form. This is the example of employee's report of injury form where the employees should fill in all the details stated in the form. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Haziq Amani and I will be moving forward for part D, which is design of the OSH management. Okay, for the first part will be final safety, security certification and verification. So for this section, it details the safety and security preparation for revenues, as well as any exceptions or any mitigation actions, as well as the timeline and who is responsible for them. Every certifiable element must be proven, or mitigations must be recorded and disclosed in writing to all impacted parties before revenue service may commence. So this section needs to have a few elements, which will be the executive summary, introduction, design, and letter of safety and security certification. Okay, next will be endorsement. So what is endorsement? Endorsement defines as a provision in an insurance contract that specifies a coverage, exclusion, or modification. So as for the company, it has a few policies that ensure some of the losses or damages, and some of these damages can be claimed. So for those that cannot be claimed, as categorized as a few things like failure of electronic equipment to recognize and interpret data consisting of dependence or deduced from time to time. Second will be any changes or alteration on any electronic parts or equipment to prevent any anticipated conditions. Okay, for safety briefing. When a company that makes electronic products sets out to implement an electrical safety program,
they may discover that most of the available materials, training, and technical descriptions focus primarily on working with facility power. So some of the helpful implementations in an electronics company include providing every employee with a document, or most companies call it electrical safety handbook, that have all the information in categorization of every electrical hazards. Next is in electrical production, it's common to use electrostatic discharge, heel or wrist straps. So when analyzing high voltage hazards, keep in mind the voltage rating of such straps. And finally, for safety briefing, is that to assist minimize the scope of program, we might want to consider limiting the number of dangers the organization will accept to work on. Moving on to safety procedures. So a safety operating method is a procedure unique to the operation that outlines the steps required to execute jobs in compliance with the DOS rules. So to avoid getting injured, here are some safety tips to help avoid the electrical hazards. First of all is all potential contact with light electrical current should be avoided. So avoiding electrical risk is the most effective way to approach to ensure safety. So electrical currents larger than 50 volts should not be handled by unqualified individuals. And the other will be ensuring electrical equipment is used in a safety way. So using all electrical equipment correctly may go a long way towards ensuring everyone's safety at work. Some of it is electrical wires should be handled with care by qualified employees, and do not overstretch or squeeze electrical cables. That is for safety procedures. Okay, for application of personal protective equipment, so there are 7 PPEs that was approved by the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So the company uses respiratory protection, hearing protection, eye, hand, foot, body, and head protection. Okay, awareness is very crucial, so otherwise some employees will definitely work in a manner of how it is convenient for them and exempting the safety in their daily routine. So some of the daily routine in the company including daily short brief on PPE and work ethics. Next is monthly safety meeting and briefing to make sure every employee knows what to do in case of emergencies and tragedies. And finally is constant reminder for employees to have safety at utmost importance in any circumstances. Last for me will be training program. So every employer or safety committee is required to conduct safety training in order to safeguard the safety of the employees. So each group's training will cover some of the needed minimum requirements. For example, access to job-related conference and seminars, as well as on-site training courses to improve job-related skills. Next will be professional development and training programs for emerging leaders, career mentorship and a resource hub for job seekers, operators and supervisory personnel, a rulebook which contains SOPs, emergency operating procedures, and finally the operations and maintenance manuals to be used by every employee, every staff in the company. That is all from me. Thank you very much.